Sociology. Today is part 2 of day 1 of the summer sociology course. In part 1, we talked about the elaboration likelihood model, which was a theory put forward by two guys in the late 70s, early 80s, which said that we think about arguments on a scale of central to peripheral persuasion. Central is more fact-based, peripheral is more emotional arguments, and there's a few differences between them. One is that central is fact-based, peripheral is emotional. The second is that in order for central to work, you actually have to care about the topic of the argument. And third is that central tends to last longer if you can use it. In this part 2 for today, we're going to break down peripheral persuasion into 6 types of peripheral persuasion. There was a social psychologist who in the early, I think it was 1993, came out with these 6 types of peripheral persuasion. So we're going to learn about them. And we'll have a little worksheet with these. So to start off, it's reciprocity, scarcity, authority, commitment, consistency, consensus, and liking. Reciprocity, and these are all things that make you more persuasive, sort of not having nothing to do with facts, but just kind of plays at your emotions like peripheral persuasion that make you more persuasive. Starting with reciprocity. Reciprocity is just as humans, if someone does something nice to us, we feel obligated to do something nice back. By the way, we're going to watch a couple commercials and see which ones of these are used in the commercials. Reciprocity, if you do something nice to somebody, there's an obligation, just as humans, seems to be built into us to do something nice back. And that can even be, you just kind of feel dissonance if you don't reciprocate. And so that could be even something like if you drop your books, someone helps you pick up your books, you feel bad unless you give something back to them. And that could be even as simple as saying thank you. And then you kind of fix the dissonance that you feel and reciprocity is resolved. But if you want to convince someone of something, you might do them a favor first. So it's also like free samples work on reciprocity. At the food court, in a very tangible example, if you go to Penn Square Mall, right by McGinnis, and you walk by the food court and someone hands you a free sample of their chicken on a stick, you can, but it's difficult to, if you walk past, they say, would you like a free sample of chicken? You take the chicken, then it's very difficult to not eat at their restaurant, or at least you might feel a little bit guilty. You might say you don't, but you'll feel a little bit guilty. So that's reciprocity. If they give you this free sample of chicken, it makes you more likely to eat at their restaurant. Any kind of free sample works on reciprocity. By the way, be thinking about this because tomorrow you're going to have to make an advertising project, which is you will have to write a 30-second commercial script as well as a drawn advertisement for a product of your choice. So, and you'll have to use these 6 things in those. So reciprocity, one way to, when you're selling your product tomorrow, one thing you can do is just offer free samples or even just have like a nice person that's complimentary, sort of. But free samples are really great for reciprocity because then if you take the free sample, you feel guilty for not buying the product. Same thing with if you're at a car lot, one thing that the person will often say is, I just take it home, which kind of is commitment consistency, but just take it home, drive it, see how you feel. If they're very nice to you, you're more likely to buy the car. Scarcity. Scarcity is when something is rare, you're more likely to want it. Another funny thing about us as humans with persuasion is that just the less of things that there are of a thing, the more you want the thing. So diamonds is a good example of this. Diamonds, I mean, they're pretty, but one of the reasons why diamonds are so expensive is because there's not that many of them. If we had a whole bunch of diamonds, it wouldn't be expensive. There's a thing called the Disney Vault, and Disney actually has this very counterintuitive thing that they do to actually sell more movies that doesn't really make sense at first. So the Disney Vault, if you've heard of it, is they will release a movie. So they release, I don't know, Beauty and the Beast remastered on Blu-ray, whatever. And then they say on May 13th, this will go into the Disney Vault and it will never be sold again. Now you'd think that in order to sell the most copies of Beauty and the Beast remastered on Blu-ray, Disney would want to release it forever so you can always buy it. But actually what they're doing is they're instilling a sense of scarcity, because if you don't buy that remastered Beauty and the Beast on Blu-ray by May, whatever I said, May 15th, you'll never get it, which makes you want it even more. Same thing with, I fell victim to, at Subway, they have their sub of the month, and if I go into Subway and it's February, and I see their February sub of the month, it's a flatbread something or other, I kind of feel like I gotta get this sub, because if I don't get this sub, I'll never be able to get this sub. I need the sub. Same thing with, on commercials, they'll often say, limited supply, or like, supplies are running out. All those things are scarcity. You just try and, maybe it's rare, maybe it's not, but you try and make it seem like it's rare. Like everyone wants it, you might not even be able to get it. That's scarcity. I remember when, decades ago, probably a long time ago, Beanie Babies were cool. And McDonald's was selling teeny Beanie Babies in their Happy Meals. And they actually had to limit the number of Happy Meals you could buy with a toy because they were running out. So that would make, ironically, that would actually make people want Beanie Babies even more. Nintendo also has either a good or a bad reputation, I guess, I don't know, of whenever they release their new system, they often don't have enough of them. Like the Switch, you couldn't find a Switch when it first came out. You couldn't find the Nintendo Wii when it first came out. The NES Classic, they released that, and it's extremely hard to get. Which again seems like a bad move by Nintendo until you think about scarcity, and then you think, you can't find a Switch anywhere. So then if you see one, you're more likely to want to buy it. Authority. Moving on to the third one. Authority is just authority figures are more persuasive. So that by the way can be an actual authority figure. So if there's a doctor on a commercial and he's recommending Crest toothpaste, that's an actual, a dentist, I guess. A dentist is an actual authority figure for toothpaste, so that works. But the funny thing about authority is it doesn't just have to be actual authority figures in that field. It could be anybody. So think about Michael Jordan's popular again because that documentary, but Michael Jordan used to do Hanes t-shirts. He would do. Shaq does Icy Hot, and I guess he is kind of an authority on that since it's a sports thing. But Ashton Kutcher does Nikon cameras. Drake does Sprite, right? I'm trying to think of what else, but you don't even have to be an actual authority figure. It's just if it's a well-known person, that still works as authority. So far we have reciprocity, scarcity, authority, and how you can sell your product, whatever you're selling. Reciprocity, a good thing to do is say like you can get free samples if you come by the shop. Scarcity, just say things like supplies are running out, or strong limit of 5 per collar, something like that to imply that there's a limited supply and you might not be able to get it. Authority would be if you have a doctor on screen trying to sell something, or you just have a celebrity. Either of those work for authority. The fourth is commitment and consistency. It's one of them. It's still not that bad, but it's probably the most confusing of the 6. Commitment and consistency is if you are already using a product, you're more likely to use it in the future to appear consistent. So if you have a line like, from the company that brought you something else, like if you are used to buying Windex because everyone buys Windex, and then Windex comes out with this new cleaning solution, and then they say, from the company that brought you Windex. Kind of a bad example, but if you're familiar with Windex, you're more likely to buy this new thing because you've already bought Windex in the past. But it can also be if you have someone, if I were to ask one of my students, hey, can you help me carry something to my car? And then they say sure, because it's not that big a deal. But then in the future, if I ask them to do a big favor for me, they're more likely to do the big favor because they've already done the small favor in the past. So, but especially at car lots, commitment and consistency would be the thing I said earlier, which was if you're thinking about buying a new Honda Civic and the guy has you on the lot and you think, I don't know, maybe we should come back and just think about it. And if the guy on the lot's smart, he's going to use commitment and consistency on you, and he's going to say, tell you what, you just drive this thing home, no strings attached, just drive it home, park it in your garage, and just keep it there overnight, and then bring it back and we'll talk. That's commitment consistency, because once you actually take the keys, drive that thing, put it in your garage, it would be consistent to go ahead and buy it because you've already like done that thing towards buying it. So kind of free trial periods would work toward commitment consistency. Also, if you give repeat customers some sort of a discount, like just customers that have already bought with us get 10% off their next order. That would be commitment and consistency, to try and get more of the people that have already bought your product. So having some percentage off for customers that you already have would be commitment consistency. The fifth one is consensus. Consensus is kind of if it's popular, you want it. Fads are sort of a funny thing with humans. They really work. Like at McGinnis, the fads that I've seen, there's all sorts of cell phone game fads. So there's Flappy Bird. The world was crazy with Flappy Bird. There was the Slither. Everybody played Slither for a while. But then there's also like Skechers were popular for a while. Swell water bottles were popular. How on earth did that happen that a water bottle could be popular? But it was. But that's consensus. So once a lot of people have something, you kind of want it. In that way, it's kind of almost the opposite of scarcity. But once it reaches a critical period of popularity, then other people want it too. So for that, you'd say in your advertisement, you'd say something like millions and millions sold. They say that all the time, like, just millions and millions sold. So you say everyone is doing this. It's the new craze. It's millions and millions sold. All these kinds of things that say everybody's doing it. It's super popular. All that. If everyone's doing it, you also want to do it. If everyone is wearing a certain brand of shoe, that makes you more want to wear that brand of shoe. And finally, liking. Liking is one way that life's not fair. And that is likable people tend to be more persuasive. And I guess that's not fair yet, but just sheer attractiveness plays into this. So attractive people tend to be better salesmen. If they say the same thing, an attractive person and unattractive person, the attractive person will be more persuasive than the unattractive person, and that's just how humans work. But also, if you're nice, that works towards liking. So if you have like a nice, attractive, flirtatious person, that's going to be a more persuasive person than not. So all that, just charismatic, a really friendly person. If you have someone working at your store as a salesperson that's just friendly, or when you're trying to sell your product in your script or your drawn product, if they are smiling or you just make reference to how they're attractive, that would be liking. I actually really love this commercial. We're going to watch this, it says 2-minute commercial. I think it's a little bit shorter than that because it cuts off at the end. But we're going to watch this commercial for the $50 gold buffalo coin. When I was in college, I remember seeing this commercial and commercials like this come on at 2 in the morning when you're watching TV. But here we go. I like this commercial a lot because it uses a lot of the 6 types of persuasion. So let's start playing it and listen for the types of persuasion that you hear. Here we go.
Collectible only from National Collectors Mint. The original $50 Buffalo gold piece is America's purest gold coin ever struck by the U.S. government. It was the first one ever struck using .9999, that's 4 nines, pure 24-karat gold. Its design was based on the famous Buffalo nickel of 1913 to 38. Wildly popular with investors and...
Okay, that's the first thing I've heard of the types of persuasion. It says wildly popular. And think to yourself, what's that? And that would be consensus. So anytime it says it's really popular, that would be consensus.
Collectors, the U.S. government had to stop production because of a shortage of specially made gold blanks.
So if they had to stop production, it was so popular that they actually had to stop making it. So there was a shortage. What would that be? Scarcity.
It's no wonder the price of the original edition is going through the roof. Now you can reserve your own tribute copy of the $50 Gold Buffalo clad in 14 milligrams of 24-karat gold. National Collectors Mint's private non-monetary minting recreates James Earl Frazier's American Buffalo against a mirror-like background on one side, and his iconic Native American Indian head stands out in stunning relief on the other. The final issue price was to be set at $50 per proof, but during our special release, this 24-karat gold-clad masterpiece can be yours for only $9.95. With gold's average price up over 300% since 2003, price can only be guaranteed for 7 days.
So there's scarcity again. The guy's voice right now, he seems very excited, kind of friendly, charismatic, and that would be liking.
Each new 2014 $50 Gold Buffalo Tribute Proof order comes individually numbered with a certificate of authenticity verifying that each piece is clad in 14 milligrams of 24-karat gold, is proof struck, and is based on the famous design of James Earl Frazier's Buffalo nickel. There is a strict limit of 5 proofs per caller.
There's scarcity again. So a lot of scarcities. To finish out today for part 2, part 1 you had the magazine assignment on the Google form, but part 2 you're going to have this. So there's this assignment, you'll just turn it back in on Google Classroom, but it's this little 18 question paper, and it gives you the 6 types of persuasion, and then you're just gonna, all you have to do is just answer the type of persuasion. Tomorrow we'll start a project and you will actually create your own advertisement using all 6 types of persuasion. But today I'm just giving you 18 different questions and you just got to match it to the type of persuasion, and that's it.